budget meeting in order. It's Monday, January 30th, 2017. And we don't have approval agenda on the, but I'm going to do an approval of the agenda because I know Councilor Katalka has a change he would like to make.
So, yeah, before we do the approval, if we can make a change on Schedule B, page 3, where it says commercial water meeting, if we could just move that to, if you guys want to call it Schedule B8 or B1, just remove it from that so I can actually be included in the discussion. If it's left in the Schedule B, I'll have to excuse myself. So I'm asking just if we can name it B1 on its own.
We'll make that change if that's okay with council. That's a motion you made. Seconded Councilor Kirby, all in favor? Imagine everybody's read the offer CEO's report, and there's a lot of good information in there. This is our third budget for this council, so I don't think there's a whole bunch of surprises anymore. I feel we've done a pretty good job in the first 2 years with our finances and our planning. We've spent a lot of time on that. Our economy in town is on an upturn, hopefully. It seems to be going in the right direction. Doing the goal in that. We've had a lot of public meetings. Started with the all candidates forum when we were ran for these chairs. We've had town hall meetings. I'm not sure the exact amount, but I think we've had 4 or 5. And we've had asset management meetings. I think from the town hall meetings and the candidates forum, as a matter of fact, it was our residents let us know that they had concerns about our assets, our road paving and stuff like that. And I think we as a council have talked a lot about it, and we actually put it as our #1 priority. We've had governance sessions that pretty well tell us what our job is. I thought that went over really well. Our corporate review said we've been doing a pretty good job in a lot of these. Our services that we offer are pretty high for a town this size. Our taxes are maybe on the low side is what they said. We haven't seen the final stages of that, but it's what the gentleman told me. It's not going to change a whole bunch from what he put out here that day did the county council. We've had lots of discussions at the committee level, with staff, with the council itself, talked about asset management. And one thing was that was brought up at one meeting was we might be scared to spend. I don't think we are. I think we are cautious about spending. We want to spend in the right areas, and I think that's the will of this council. That's what I've got from it anyway. I guess there's one big question we've got to ask ourselves. At the end of this 4-year term, what do we want to leave? Do we want to leave a great big bank account, or do we want to leave a town that's in better shape than what we got it? We can do both of those. We have the ability to do our assessment management and work in our infrastructure and still leave a pretty healthy reserve. Staff has done their job really well, I feel, and I think it's time for us to do our job, the job that we were voted in here to do. Get past that, this meeting, I'm going to give everybody a chance to state their opinions. If we start repeating ourselves, I will call the question. I'd like the recommendation to be moved and seconded, and then I'll put it to the floor for discussion like usual. And any changes that we have to make to what we've got here, we'll make it by way of amendments. And all questions would be directed at me, and if I can't answer them, I will ask staff to help out. Okay, we will get started. Okay, first the CEO's report. Just receive that for information unless there is any discussion on it. Okay, all in favor of that? Go to 3.1, Schedule A, Asset Management. I get the recommendation. Councilor Kirby,
Recommendation that council approve Schedule A is presented.
seconder for that? Okay. Okay, discussion. Councilor Hobbs.
So how are we gonna do this? We're gonna pick each one out and discuss the issues of each one, or is that
Well,
what you wanna do here?
I just if you've got one, if you got some that you want to talk about, discuss, and just go for it.
Okay. And where do we get the opportunity to look at how much money we're collecting this year? When does that come?
That's, I think that's in the end of February sometime.
We have a preliminary though of what's in right now, right?
I don't, do we have anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, the preliminary tax roll has come in, and like I shared with council, we're expecting if council was to hold their mill rate the same as last year, we would expect a $2 million decrease in revenue. Approximately.
So total revenues of.
What revenues? We went through this whole budget discussion I had with Mr. Wallace, that we'd probably be looking a little over $4 million out of reserves.
Yeah, but how much are we taking in this year? That's my question.
This is $11 million spend, so I would say that we're talking 7 million. Mr. Wall?
It depends again what council sets your rates at, but if you were to hold the average tax similar to what it was last year, you'd be looking at about $14 million in revenue.
So my concern right off the get-go here, before we get too far into this, I mean, you were able to make a statement and that's fantastic, but my concern right off the get-go is what's happening with PRC and the taxes from PRC. The way I understand it, that there is a huge decrease in the taxes that we're gonna get from PRC. I have concerns that if Tech were able to do the same thing that PRC was able to do, and Walter or Canoe McColl were shut down in a year, and they were able to do the same thing they were able to do, we'll be looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 million out of our revenues for the next few years. That's my concern before we go off and say, let's just spend today. We need to be a little bit more cautious. We may have money today, but we may not have money tomorrow. So that's my take on it, and I'd like a little more information on where we are with the PRC thing and how they were able to do something that when I first started on council was told to all members of council that could never happen. As long as all those buildings were there, we will always collect the taxes. That's what we were told. And all the buildings are still there, and the way I understand it, we're only gonna collect 20% of the taxes that we used to collect, so.
I guess if you got those concerns, then you'll know how you vote on some of these things.
Well, it's something that I think council needs to be aware of, right? Like, let's not forget about that point.
We've got a budget here that staff has put together that we've either got to approve or disapprove. So, and that's what we're here to do today. And this is no different than any other year that most of that information does come later. And tell me if I'm wrong, that this can be changed later if we find out that we're a big shortfall somewhere along the line. Am I right?
It depends when council passes the budget. Once you pass the budget bylaw, staff will start working on the projects. You can stop any project you want at any time, but the money that's been spent will have already been spent. So, council won't know the final tax scenario until the end of March. So council, this is one of the things that we talked about earlier, is that we put the budget at this time so you would at least have preliminary numbers. Council had been expressing the desire to pass a completed budget before January. And so when we talked about it in the council meetings, council said, well, we're not comfortable passing it before the end of the year because we don't know what the taxes are gonna be. Council said you weren't comfortable passing the budget after April because we don't get an early enough started on the project. So what you decided was you'd pass the budget now when you had preliminary numbers. So you got a little bit of starting early and you also had an idea of when the taxes were gonna be.
Hey, do you have anything more to?
Yep, the very first one, paving, seal coating, pave management. So this looks like it entails the entire lower bench and the Pioneer Loop. I just want to confirm that that is the entire lower bench. No streets missing from down there?
I think it's Bergeron is not.
Thank you, Worship. It's Bergeron and all the collector streets starting and going down. You're getting Chamberlain, all of those cul-de-sacs all the way down to the end of Bergeron, but it doesn't include the streets coming up there and going off Someikle. So it'll come down, do Bergeron all the way down this year.
And I see in here, it says, this includes curbs, gutters, lamp posts, catch basins, freshwater systems, wastewater systems. So is that, like in the report that I read here, it didn't seem that we had to replace all that stuff, but is the cost $4 million to do all of that? Not only the asphalt, is to tear up all the concrete and redo all the concrete, or just the bad areas?
These are things that are staff's, this is what staff does. They go through this stuff and they just decide what has to be done. We want, all we here we decide is how much we want to spend.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I guess the budget's done. I guess we just,
Anybody else? Councilor Chalk?
I am wanting a little bit more clarification too. To me, our due diligence is in asking some of the right questions with all the governance training we've been doing. I think we can ask those right questions and not just, be giving recommendations to vote on yes or no.
You can ask whatever questions you want.
With the paving, there's, we're in preliminary parts of the asset management as well, but the pavement and the infrastructure, I've pulled some stuff from the federal definition of public infrastructure is our streets and our gutters and curbs and stuff like that. And I don't think we have all of the reports yet. We're just getting into the asset management. So, we pass and start moving forward. I do want to see the pavement begin, but I want to make sure we're doing our due diligence and spending the money on the necessary pieces and not just doing things that might not be completely necessary.
With all the meetings we've had with engineers and staff and to get to the point we're at right now, I don't know what more discussions we could spend another year having more meetings and worry about it next year, but it'll be up to you if that's the way you want to move.
And that's where I think it's really important that all of us be involved in this. We had a committee structure where there was only a few people, and going forward, we're going to be doing with that. So all of council is brought forward, but we have the committee in place. We don't have an actual plan. And KPMG, when I was having my private discussion, they were saying that there are still steps we need to take to get to this point where we can implement this stuff properly.
Well, I would see your point, and that should reflect in your vote, I would imagine.
Okay.
Councilor McKay.
One question, a little bit off to the side. Do we know if and I think Councillor Hull brought it up. the situation with Piss River Coal, do we know how they managed to be paid from paying the taxes? Because that's always been kind of a mainstay. And that, and Quintet Coal, they got caught when they had to remove a bunch of infrastructure to have their taxes lowered. And I think we got a bit of, I think we got some room this year, but for following years, I think these are the things we need to know, and it might very well affect next year's budget. So if we don't know that already, is there any way we can find out exactly what they done? I don't, even if there's a cost involved in doing that. But I think that's really important on us. Like I say, I think this year, it's not as important as it will be for next year.
I have a meeting on Friday with the PRC accountants.
Thank you, Your Worship, and Councilman McKay had already hit the one thing. I'm just wondering if we can get an overview from the 2015 budget. Like I see there's some stuff coming up here in the blue. How many more items are incomplete? So I know normally we get an overview of what we started and what we didn't complete and what's still outstanding. I mean, I can read some of it, but is there any more besides what you have in your budget?
Mr. Wall?
I would draw council's attention maybe to the last strategic plan update. All the projects that council asked us to track are in there. So between the strategic plan update and what we have carried over here, you're gonna get a pretty close to complete accounting of where we finished 2015.
So normally we get that report. When's that report coming out? You can talk about the strategic plan. I get we added some stuff there when we had our discussions. What I'm wondering is previous budgets, we had that report. They kind of showed us what we budgeted for and what we spent. We asked the same question last year, I know I did.
Mr. Wall, do you understand the question?
We can produce that report whenever council wants to see it.
Anybody else?
So do the roads, curbs, gutters, lamp posts, catch basins, freshwater system, wastewater system, and other items all fail at the same time? Like, are they all made of the same material? Do they all fail at, some of this is steel, some of this is concrete, some of this is asphalt?
There's been reports done, they've done their tests, whatever tests they do on them, find out what has to be replaced, what doesn't. Okay. Councilman Craig.
Well, there's quite a few items here, so there's gonna be a couple more discussions from my side, for sure. One thing I ask is I see on cemetery expansion phase 1, completion's not done, but I see that we're trying to budget for phase 2 and 3. I'm just curious, to council, not even staff, but if we didn't finish phase 1 in 2016, I'm kinda curious how we're gonna finish phase 2, 3, and 1 in 1 year. And that one's a $450,000 budget.
I would feel staff feels confident we can get this done.
Keep going, or would you-
Yeah.
So, and it's not a whole bunch, I do sit on the asset management, or I did sit on that committee before we run it back. And I guess I just, again, to rest of council, I mean, hats off to staff bringing it forward, and I know it was brought forward through that asset management, but all the equipment being replaced at the same time. So my thing is, are we gonna replace all this stuff, including light vehicles and all that? And then in 10 years or 5 years, council's gonna have to look at replacing it all again at the exact same time. So my thing is, are we better off, I mean, don't get me wrong, I say great job by staff, but are we better off to buy some of them and not all of them, and then we pre-budgeted for next year or whatever, so it's carried over, so there's actually a lot replacing some of this equipment, instead of stringing the next council or the council after them to buy all the equipment at the exact same time again. If that's what's gonna happen.
Okay, and that's a question I had too, and it's a concern I had. And the reason we're at the stage we're at is because of our draft. We cut down back spending, we have for the last few years, and we've been doing lots on repairs. We could spend more money on repairs and keep some of these vehicles going, if that's what you're talking about. But it's not cheap to keep these dump trucks and the roads going. The repairs add up to more than the things worth after a very short time. The other thing is that this money has been put aside for this. In the future, I would like that to not even be part of our reserves. It should be, we're put aside for vehicles, it shouldn't be in the reserves. It should be sitting there for vehicles, and I'm gonna work at trying to get that to happen over the next year. But it is what it is. It's, a lot of equipment's gotta be replaced. It's not being replaced just because we want new vehicles. It's being replaced because of the cost of repairs. We've had to lease a garbage truck and that from other communities to get us through some stages, so, it's not gonna, doesn't need to be replaced.
So just on, I don't disagree with your comments, but here we go, we got replaced 200 plow trucks, are they the same truck? Single axle, underbody, are they multiple use? Do both need to be replaced in 2017, and can you replace one and have the other two there to, if one does break down, we're gonna say that there's gonna be maintenance costs, but do we know that? No. Right, so that's all I'm talking about is, I get where the budget comes in and we have the money there, but just because we have the money there doesn't mean we have to spend it all. Because next year you can end up with another piece of equipment down, but we have no money to buy that one. Whether it be a fire truck or whatever it's gonna be. So that's the only reason I asked that, but I'm very curious in regards to the underbodies. Are they the exact same ones we're replacing? Are they multiple use? Do they haul? Do they?
Mr. Wall, do you have any?
We haven't gone through the purchase if you, or tendering process. If council would like a report on that, we can produce it. I'll say that everything in Schedule A are recommendations that came from council to include in the budget discussion. So we brought these items to council before council recommended that they come into the budget discussion, so that's why they are here.
These are decisions that I think are staff decisions, and, but if we have a concern that we don't wanna do this, I mean, we can make an amendment to this, if that's what you.
No, I just, I'm looking with your guys' opinion. We can read this over, we had an opportunity to come talk to Mr. Wall, but, the same aspect, how do you feel? How does Mr. Howe feel? How does Councilor Kirby feel, Mr. Casey? I'm not saying not to buy it. What I'm saying is just because we have the money there, the staff ready this reports, and whether we ask for them to put it in place in their budget, just put it in the budget, doesn't mean we can't discuss it the second time. Sometimes we're cut off from discussions in regular meetings because we're trying to get through a whole bunch of stuff. Or it's the same rotation, right? It's the same questions, and I get calling the question. But then it comes to here for some more discussion between the 7 of us, not, like I said, I wasn't involved with staff, just your opinion. You said, yeah, I kinda had the same opinion, but the money's in. But do we spend it all at once? Do we hold off some and buy some next year?
I'm just saying, I know how we got to this point, and this is, and we're fixing the problem now. Councilor Stark, you had.
Yeah, my comment on this too is these, to me, keeping our streets clean, the garbage removal, those are all our core and essential services. And I understand that staff needs good, equipment, good operating equipment to do their jobs, for the residents as well as health and safety issues. What I would like to see is prioritizing, like the ones that are a must, like the really, the old ones are the ones that are costing a lot of money. If we've got to prioritize, in case we have to make cutbacks, it would be nice to know the ones that are a must-have, and then the ones that we could put off to 2018, and make a plan that way rather than spending it all in one shot.
I guess this is a discussion that should have come before today. It boils it down. Anybody else? Oh, Councilor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor McPherson. Regarding the vehicles that are listed in our budget, are we looking at new vehicles, leased vehicles? Just what are we looking at when this budget is for? Is it for brand new equipment or secondhand, leased?
I think it's brand new. I think our policy is always to buy new equipment. We don't want to buy somebody else's problems. And I think we purchased it. Okay.
Just another thing, and maybe you can answer, your worship. Just in regards to fire hall roof exterior insulation. I read it, get it, but I know there was, came before, or the asset management in regards to some more work being done in that building. I'm wondering if it's, we'll spend more money, but is it somewhere else and I haven't seen it? Or is that including all the updates that was brought forward to asset management?
Mr. Wall.
I don't recall what upgrades Councilor Kukoka is talking about.
that we're talking about in regards to the sidewalls and could be some leakage issues there. I just wonder if we replace the roof, does that hinder us from doing other repairs, or the other repairs become more expensive? Or should we look at the whole envelope, just like we are with the town hall eventually, or Public Works building? As an outlet? There was issues with heat escaping through the sidewalls of the fire department. There was a report from previous building manager in regards to some of the heat loss via thermal imaging camera that we used. So I'm just curious, like, if it doesn't hurt us, then so be it. But
This was all done by an engineer. So these are the recommendations of the engineers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe what would be more accurate would be fire hall roof, comma, exterior, comma, and insulation.
Thank you.
Just wanna make sure.
So how you guys-
No, that's what I was gonna make a mention to, because it's the insulation in the walls that was sloughing down, not the roof.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you, Mayor McPherson. In regards to the vehicles here, and I kind of agree with Councillor Kokon on maybe separating some of those costs instead of putting them all in 1 year and maybe moving some into year 2. Now, I mean, I would think that the waste collection truck is a must, but the other, maybe some of the other vehicles, if we were to cut that budget, if we were to add all the vehicles up and say, cut that budget by, I don't know, by half or a percentage, and then let Public Works figure out what vehicles are an absolute necessity this year, and they can determine which ones they were to go after. That's just a suggestion.
If you want to make an amendment to this, that-
Would council have, I'd like a little discussion with council on what they thought about maybe cutting some of that vehicle. Just before just making that amendment, I'd like to just
if you
talk
make
about.
the amendment, the council will vote for or against it. Tell you
Like, let's see. I would make the amendment that we would purchase we would keep the waste collection truck, and that the other vehicles that are listed in the budget be cut by. I'm gonna hold off on that. I gotta get the calculator. Yeah, that's a big, pardon?
So you gotta add it up for us.
Yeah, like, yeah.
This is why I sent out the email to have a quick look at this, because this is the things that should have been written down here, and you could have made that amendment very easy.
Yeah.
So that's why I sent that email on Friday.
I appreciate that, Mayor McPherson, but as situations happen in life, you're not always got the information right in front of you, and I'm surely not gonna just make a vote if we cannot have a discussion. Because a lot of times, these items do come up in regular council meetings that we have discussed, but then they're not every day, then they come to us today. And I thank staff for putting this together, but I just have some concerns, and if there's areas that we could cut, I wanna cut them in the right way. I don't wanna just make a recommendation off the fly. But, it's just, conversation is good to me. I don't think that I'm not slighting this budget in the least. I just wanna get a little bit of clarification on a few things. And if all these items are must-haves for this year, then okay. I appreciate that, but it's just where we could go, where we could make some cuts, especially if we're not exactly sure on taxes this year. Something might have to go.
The one thing you did mention was the waste removal truck, and I think that's probably the number one thing that has to be, like, I've seen them having to bring other trucks into town to do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's number one on the list, but, Councilor Casey.
Well, thank you, Worship. I'm just, it's just not clear in my own mind with regards to, to really what our role is. If we have been presented some wishes of staff, they all have come through our CAO. they've looked at their operations, they put it down, they've determined what it is they require to be able to do the job. They need 2 of that, 1 of this, 4 of that, whatever. That's all been passed up the line and reviewed and so forth, and we're going to sit here and talk about the types of cars or trucks that they should have, and rather than have this over here, they got this over here and that, rest of it and so forth. I mean, is that our role? Because I'm confused as to whether or not it is our role. I don't see it as our role. If we don't have the confidence in our CAO and or his top people to make those decisions relative to the job that they have to get done, then are we gonna second guess that? And I'm not trying to be silly about it, but we're gonna be here all night. And, you know, in terms of the bottom line, with regards when all of this is said and done and we're going up the line and we're taking a look at what is going, the costs that are overall involved, we're gonna take a look at what the impact is gonna be on our residents, we're gonna take a look at that, it's gonna result in a 50% increase in taxes, that's wrong. So we're gonna go back, we're gonna have a look at it, we're gonna cut or whatever and say, no, that's not acceptable. But if we're gonna go line by line by line over the budget of what his people have put together, then we're gonna be here all night. And I just don't think, that doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to me. And in addition to that, if we had major concerns about this and so forth, or anybody, I hope that everybody's taking the opportunity to go and talk to our CAO prior to coming here to have those discussions here. It's one thing to go there and talk about those issues and so forth, and that's fine. Get the information, then come back and summarize and say, I did talk to CEO and I still don't accept it. I just don't get the flavor that all of that has been done. That's my only point.
I agree with you fully, and that's kind of what I tried to get through to council to start this. Councilor Kirby, you got something?
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment to the resolution that we fix the steam trailer, that we do repairs on the backhoe, and that we do repairs on the 2 front-end loaders.
Okay, second for that. Councilor, okay. Any discussion on that? Councilor Guy.
Just that I'm looking at the front end loader, 1988, and you can throw that in the same boat as the underbody trucks, 93 and the 97 model. That's things that I think we should they should be already replaced, in my own opinion. They're at the age right now where it's you don't want to be. I think it's gonna be ongoing. Working on these vehicles rather than just bite the bullet while we still can, and 2 cents.
I agree with you on that, and then there's a few of us here that do have equipment in our own business, and you know you get to a point where the repairs are just bad money after bad money. Or a point where they just have to be replaced, and I'm sure staff has looked at whether repairing them is feasible. Anything else on the amendment? Okay, I'll call Councilor Kirby.
I would just like to say that, you know, that staggers spending. It saves us a few $100,000, you know, just put something on for next year to replacement. I mean, it doesn't mean that that equipment isn't gonna be replaced, but, you know, if we're gonna stagger, that's just the way I'm thinking that we could achieve some of that, not spend, you know, all of it this year.
What do we got down for the amendment? Can you read that out?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It would be to repair the backhoe, 2 front-end loaders, and steam trailers.
Okay. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of the amendment? All opposed? Okay, back to the motion. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? All in favor?
What is the,
Oh, what is the motion?
what's the motion?
The motion is the recommendation, but can you read it out?
That council approves Schedule A as presented.
All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Mr. Wall, I'm a little confused at 3.2 is that not part of what we just went through for Schedule A?
Yeah, 3.2, you can, if you like, you can consider this for information. It contains a lot of the answers council was looking for when you were talking about what's included in the paving and what's not. It's right in this report.
Okay, thank you. So, we'll just take that for information, is that okay with council? Okay for information, second or that? That's Kirby, all in favor? Okay, 3.3, solid waste collection cards. You get the recommendation? That's Kirby.
The council approves the capital purchase of 1,500 240 liter bear resistant residential solid waste collection carts, and that residents be given their first card at no fee.
Second. Okay. I just gotta say, we didn't approve the waste removal truck, that this, probably is a no-go too. Because it was to go along, was gonna work with, garbage truck. Any more discussion on it? Councilor Kirby?
Mayor McPherson, I know that the council did not pass the Schedule A, but can council make a recommendation to purchase a new waste truck from Schedule A at this point?
If you can make an amendment to that, it is.
That council purchased the new solid waste collection truck from Schedule A.
Second for that, Councilor? Okay. Discussion. Councilor Hall?
Can this truck be used for, recycling purposes as well? If we throw garbage in it, then next week we went around and did recycling, should we ever get back into recycling, could the same truck be utilized?
I think that's probably part of this, reasoning behind this, is that we can't go to recycling. Mr. Wall, is it? Yeah. Yeah, down the road we could,
Same truck could be utilized, same style of bin, same everything.
yeah, you'd have the, probably different cans for the recycle. And, so they'd pick them up on every second week, that's the way some towns work it in. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? That's the amendment. So for the motion, which is the election cards, any more discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, Schedule B. Wastewater equipment, and we've moved, the water metering to, zone slot at B1. I could have the recommendation. Councilor Chuck,
Council approves Schedule B as
seconder. Councilor Gaten. Discussion. Yes.
So I don't have much, and I pretty much know this answer for it, but I just want to throw it out there for discussion that stuff that's in blue, the stuff that we approved last year, 2016 budget, right? We already taxed our residents on, and now that money went into surplus, and that's why it's back into budget process again. So just on that, maybe we need to start looking at maybe, I'm not gonna say stepping it, or putting it in pieces, but my concept when we do this, that we're actually spending this money, that's why we tax our residents and our businesses. So to me, when we don't tax them, there's over $1 million here, by $1.5 million or close to it, that we pass that goes now into surplus. That's just one of my concerns in regards to this, so I brought it up in Schedule A, I'm gonna bring it up again, that if we're looking to do finish phase 1 of 2 and 3, and now we're adding cluster valve replacement and other stuff, that I'm hoping that we can get this done if we re-budget it again this time.
Mr. Wall, can you, answer?
I would say a municipality is no different than any other business. How many businesses wrap up 100% of the projects you're working on before calendar year? It's impossible for us to do that. But if we were to come to council and we say, well, we need $30,000, and how do we break up where we know the projects are gonna finish? It's impossible. So what we do is we show you this is what the cost is. If at the end of the year we're not finished, we have to move it into the next year. And what you can see here is it's in blue, so council can say, well, okay, we've already collected the money that we needed for this project, so when we go into tax time, this isn't gonna be money that we need to make up for this year. And so that's one of the reasons why these are in blue, and you have at the bottom of each schedule a total carryover. So council can set your revenue wherever you want. If you want to collect revenue again for these projects, you can. If not, you can see, okay, well, the total carryover on water is 1.3 million, which we collected from last year, so we don't need to collect that this year.
That would come at, when we're talking taxes.
That's correct.
So, yeah, I think your worship, you already asked that, so that's where we say take that out of the surplus? Is that what you're saying? Like that's when we start setting taxes?
Council can do that, that's correct, yes.
So, just on that, I'm gonna ask you, your worship, so just on that, like, I think sometimes we budget and we know that there's no way that task is gonna come in, or staff's already saying that it's a year out, or it's 9 months out. Like, that's one of the comments coming from residents, is that the tax, I mean, obviously now the way Mr. Walls built this out with having the numbers that we don't have to add, it's a little easier, but that is a comment that's on the street, that we tax them twice. So it's good to see it done this way, and hopefully when we come up to the final part of the taxes, I see a calendar made, and I'm gonna bring it up at the end of this meeting. I think we've changed our budget, I didn't know that tons, but, that those people realize that that's our decision to take that as a surplus.
And I like to see that too, that the carryover, and that, we do know what we can take over.
Yeah, no, that's good, I appreciate that.
Okay, any other discussion on it? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Okay, B1, water metering.
I have to just use myself as well, so.
It's just commercial water metering, it's in schedule.
Oh, okay.
Page 3 there, the second one from the bottom. Page 3 in Schedule B. Get a motion to accept this in the budget. Guys, second there on that.
Can I give you a hand?
That's right.
Like to second that, Councilor Casey, and then
Yes, I would.
seconder and discussion. Councilor Hop.
I'll be voting against this again. This is the third time we've worked on this one, and the third time we'll be voting against it. I think it puts us into potential for lawsuits every time we go and do it, so I won't be voting for it.
Anybody else? Councilor Guy.
I'd like to hear a little more about that, but, is there anywhere where water used in an industrial base is not charged for? is not metered. And I know that the metering, just the metering alone, it saved the town of Telqua a significant amount of money, because through the metering, they actually discovered the leakage they were having. And they would never have discovered it without the meters.
Yeah, I know we've discussed this for many years, and we've actually approved for it to go ahead. To the point, I think, that the meters are installed, it's just a matter of using them now.
And we're talking only industrial usage here. We're not talking residential use.
No, there's no meters on the houses.
No.
Yeah, and I don't see where that would put us in legal issues. That's all.
We're actually talking commercial use is what we're talking.
Commercial, yeah.
Not industrial use.
Anywhere where
It
you're,
would put you into a lawsuit where you've already approved businesses to come in based on the fact that they don't have to pay for water. They build a business based around that, they come in, they get a good business going, and then we go in and say, by the way, now we're gonna charge you for water now that you set up. Absolutely an opportunity for lawsuits. We've paid out lawsuits in this town for less reason than that, so. Rest assured, it'll be coming.
That's okay.
yeah, I mean, what is the legal thing on that? I mean, I think council has the ability at any time to change any of the statutes that are in place. And that's our job, and that, I don't know if the lawsuit would result in something that doesn't mean, like rezoning, it's like anything like that, we have the ability to do that type of thing. And I might be, if I'm wrong, I'd like to be corrected on that, but,
Mr. Wall, I'm sure we've had our legal team look at this, and they've been involved with this water meeting. Mr. Wall?
So right now, this is just water metering. There's been no direction from council to move forward with any sort of rate for commercial watering, so there's no issues like that. If we get to that point, we would investigate a little bit more, but as Councilor McKay said, municipalities change their tax and rate structures all the time.
Thank you. Okay, I've got a question. All in favor? Opposed? Councilor McKay,
Thank you. I missed you.
okay, if I can get the recommendation for Schedule C, 3.5.
Council approves Schedule C as presented.
Seconder. Survey. Discussion.
Just out of curiosity, the turnout gear replacement, what do you get for $6,000? Do you get a couple fire suits, or what do you get for that? Is that?
Yeah, the idea behind this is just to replace one or two small pieces a year, so nothing.
This is a continual thing, right? Okay.
Just on the thermal imaging camera, has there been a need for one in the past, and would this be a real necessity for our fire department?
Mr. Wall?
We have used them in the past, that's correct. This will be one that would go onto the new ladder truck, so we'd like to have one on each. Is it a necessity? Could it go without? It could, but it is very helpful, especially for firefighters going into areas there's hidden pockets, backdrafts and stuff like that, and this helps identify them.
So I don't have a question, it's just on that, on regards to that thermal camera. I had the same question, I didn't have that question, I was just curious, I thought we already had one, which we already doing. So what they are, most departments use them on rapid intervention, so they have firemen go down, it's an easy access to find body. So the fire produces heat, but so does your body, so it's easy to find. I believe that's what Mr. Quick used to find all the air drafts for a building, was use that thermal imaging camera, which it really dictates it, so if there's somebody trapped in a smoke-filled building, it really, it's for $12,000. But I had the same question, see if they had one already, but they do, and they just want more, so, which is.
Thanks. Anything else? All in favor? Two point six.
So there was a comment made about this, I'm not sure if I have this, I mean, it's more a thing, but there was a way of taking it off our budget. There's no recommendation to be included in the 2017 budget, but there was also comments in regards to taking it off our budgets in regards to how council felt. So I'm not gonna make a recommendation in case somebody else wants to see it on the budget, but I know there was there was a way of taking it off forward, so I'll leave it on it, but I'm not making a recommendation.
Somebody make a recommendation and I can put it up for more discussion. Okay,
If nobody else can make a recommendation, I recommend that we remove the wash bay off any further budgets.
seconder for that. Scott? Okay, well, I feel the same way. I mean, it's been put in front of us twice now, we just keep putting it off, so. Seems to get more expensive every time we put it off, but, and that, I guess that's the way of the world, but, yeah, I'd just like to either see it done or gone, so. Any other discussion? Councilor Hopper?
When we say we're gonna take it off, is that just for this, the remaining of the term of this council, or is that for forever?
We can only make those decisions for our council.
Be for the next 2 years, put it that way. Councilor Guy?
And what is a suitable alternative way to do this?
They're, whatever they're doing right now. Just continue to that. Yeah, there's local wash bays, and they're also, they've got a place down there that they do wash.
And is that an area that we had concern about, like catch basins and things like that, to catch what we were steaming off? Wasn't that one of the reasons for going with a wash bay?
One of the reasons was the contamination down there, and is that something that if we take it off, that we're okay with living with?
Continuing to do, which could be illegal, right?
I think it could be, yeah. I know other towns do it. Anything else? Okay, all in favor of the motion? Against? Okay. The 3.7, transfer station road dust control. Any recommendation? Councilor Kirby?
The council approves the expenditures required to pave the transfer station road in efforts to reduce the dust that is detrimental for the longevity of the wastewater treatment aeration blower system.
Seconder?
Discussion. Yeah.
Discussion? Councilor Hop?
I don't think we need to be paving the dump road to knock down the dust. I mean, it's a $900,000 repair that we had to do to the blowers after 36 years, and now we're gonna pave the entire road because of dust. I brought this up about 8 months ago when I was down there with Public Works, and the idea down there at that time was to put calcium on the road or do some type of a dust control over that corner. To me, to pave the entire dump road, there's heavy traffic that goes up and down that dump road in the spring all day long, and your pavement won't stand up. It's a lot of money to throw at paving or chip sealing or whatever for a simple fix to throw some calcium down, and even only has to be on the one corner. So I'll be voting against this one as well. I emailed Mr. Wall and I asked for costs on this, and this is as far as we got with it today because we haven't had enough time. So I'll be voting against paving that road.
So you're saying that you don't want to pay, but you do agree that there's dust problem there, so
I'd rather see the costs for calcium the corner if it takes 2 or 3 times through the summer. Calcium roads in Tumbler Ridge, you know, the ones that do calcium usually hold up through the summer months, and you know maybe you got to put it on there twice. But I bet you we've got enough equipment over here in the town. We could probably throw plastic tank in and do it ourselves just by buying, a few cubes of calcium. To me, it's a total waste of money for something that's totally small. 36 years they didn't fail, but
Anything else? Councilor Guy?
Yeah, I don't agree with the paving. I think it would, there should be some alternate method used, whether it's chip seal on the flat areas. Calcium, it is doable, but it is slippery, but it's not on a slope, so. But whenever it rains, I mean, calcium does get pretty slippery, so. But, yeah, an alternative, solution.
Okay, I think, well, we'll call the question on this, and then if there's an alternate recommendation here, I'll entertain that. So, all in favor of 3.7? Against? Okay, somebody want to make a recommendation then? Councilor Howard.
direct staff to investigate costs.
The calcium portion of the road or the entire road?
Secondary, Cocker. Any more discussion on that? All in favor? Okay, Schedule D. Building and Community Services. Recommendation. Councilor Cocker,
The council approves Schedule D as presented.
second for that. Councilor Cock. Discussion.
Thank you, Worship. Small ticket item, but this council chamber audio visual, I mean, there comes to one where, get the idea of the voting system and all that. Mics, I mean, we talked about these mics when they first were talking about them, asked for them to make sure that they were on, they were. I don't get it. I mean, if again, to me, and it's not staff's fault, it's council's fault. We're moving ahead too quick on some things. Like we obviously wanted the mics, we wanted these screens. We had a great idea, but again, now we're going out for another 40 grand tax bill. So, I'd like to make a recommendation that we remove the council chamber audio visual $40,000 budget.
Okay, second for that. Okay, on the amendment, discussion on the amendment. I guess this was a lot of, that I put forward is discussions with our CAO, that I have trouble reading what's on that screen right there. I always thought that we would be hooked up to our computer shit. What's on that screen would be on our computer so we can read it. That was what I wanted there. And on the push button voting, I just think it's more of a private vote when you just push a button, you're not sitting there waving your hands, and quite often we don't. And I know I miss things from side to side. It would be better to see it on screen, take by button. But I see your point of $40,000. So I just thought I'd suggest it. Councillor Kirby, you haven't been here for so long.
I know, thank you, Mayor McPherson. I think it's important that when we make votes and our hands are up, that the people in the gallery and stuff can see that we vote. I do like the idea when you say you can't read the screen and you can see it in front of you. I do understand that. 40,000 sounds like a big upgrade. I think it would be beneficial if, while we're in council, that, if the CAO can put up, kind of, sometimes it's good to just let you know where you're at. That if he can type things in where you can see, well, okay, that, you need to vote on this amendment, or this was put forward, you can see everything. I would like to be able, if you could see what the resolutions were, or the recommendations were right in front of you as we go along, that could be beneficial. But if we can't do that, if it's just for a push button and stuff, then I would be against it.
We do that at the regional district. We got it on our computers. It's way easier to keep track of what's going on. But no, and I think they can put up things that I don't think they can add,
Yeah.
but most of the information's already there. Not sure how to do that.
No, I'd echo the same thing. I know we've talked about it before. I'd like to see when somebody starts to babble on about a motion, what is actually being typed up, and this is the motion that you're voting on. I think we waste a ton of time in here about, well, what is the actual motion? What are we voting on? Is it the amendment? If it's up there and it's in red or in front of you on the screen, I mean, I agree that these TVs look fantastic, but they're not big enough. You know, you can't see anybody comes in to do a presentation and then they gotta do handouts. Well, what was the first point of putting them in anyways, right? That's the type of stuff when we put this stuff in and we spend the money to do it, you know, we go on staff's recommendation that this is gonna be the end all be all, and it's gonna work for you. And then when it comes back and it doesn't work for you, you gotta spend $40,000 again, that's the whole entire point of questioning a budget. And no offense, but holding the feet to the fire and saying, listen, guys, like, we already spent money on this, we're gonna spend $40,000 again, you know? You need to make sure that it's done right, and that's where you gotta ask the questions. Are we gonna be able to see a motion on the screen? I think the discussion that we're having on this is well warranted. That's what we should be doing during budgets.
Anything else?
So no answers to it.
We've got an amendment. We wanted to take this out. So, I mean, I'm sure that's not the end of the discussions on this, but it's something that comes along. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Mayor McPherson. Would this be the last step to this whole package that we've started with the TVs and the microphones? Would this be the finishing kind of touch? And what have we spent up to date on the system?
I'm not sure what we spent up to date on the system. The system is done right now. This is what council asked
Yeah.
to see improvements, so staff has brought those improvements. If council doesn't want the improvements, we don't have to do them.
Councilor Cook?
So just on that, I won't, I support moving it. I just think that, one, there's not even a report on it, for one, so we don't even know, okay, I read what we're getting, but what are we getting? Because when I read the report on that, I understood the same thing, that there'd be more to it. I mean, we got wires that go through our whole floor. I know that was one of the things that comes up in the budget as well, but I mean, why wasn't that looked at when we first did it? Like, to me, that should have been dealt with when we first approved it. We knew that. I don't know that should come back. This is what we have to all do, whether it's a bullet comes down and then underneath one of our seats, whatever. You got a tripping hazard that goes all past our gallery. You got staff with an issue, Mr. Casely, whoever. Like, that's why I don't support putting it in there.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Thank you, Worship. Just from a personal perspective, I have trouble reading. Reading the motions that come up, that go up there or anything else. If somebody's in making a presentation, they have a PowerPoint presentation or whatever, I have trouble because of the size of the writing or the illustrations or whatever. That, from a personal perspective, that's where I have a problem.
So my question is will this upgrade make those required changes? Will we be able to read what's up there, and will there be motions that will be able to be typed up and put on there? That's the question that I have on this. Will we be able to read it?
I'm gonna call the question on the First Amendment, which is to remove it. And if there's something you wanna have, that we ask for a report on what we can get and how it works. We can do that. All right, Councilor Scott?
Are we addressing anything in Schedule D right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question on the.
Or just, no,
Oh,
we'll
just on
we'll
this?
finish the
Oh,
amendment off
okay.
first, then I'll review.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor of the amendment to remove the audio-visual section of that? Okay. Opposed? Now we pulled that out of there, does anybody want to request a report on that? On what improvements we can make with this system? Councilor Kai?
I think the most important thing is that that we're able to clearly look at a resolution or a motion and have it clearly understood and recorded as such. And I think that's basically the only thing I'd really like to see. I guess they're okay for at least I don't have a problem with just the visuals. I guess somebody wants to put on a 5-minute film or something like that. I don't think anybody, I might be wrong, but I don't think anybody's real problems with that. It's the writing And if we had a system in place that clearly, like I say, showed because we've had problems with that in the past. That was clear, that's really all I'm.
Councillor Hall.
So why do we have to make a report on it when it's already in the budget? Hasn't this stuff been researched already and why can't we get the answers from staff? That was my question. Why I asked the question, I'm looking for an answer from it before I vote on something.
If you put it in the budget, you know you're gonna spend $40,000 on it. What are you spending $40,000 on?
So it states right here, we're spending $40,000 on, and, Councillor Derby was not, Councillor Tucker was not willing to do that, so that's why it's been taken up. I'm not saying that's gonna solve all our problems, what's down there, that's my issue with this. There should be more to it, but that would come in a report, if we would want that. Okay, Councillor Derby?
Thank you, Mayor McPherson. So council already has the laptops.
Okay.
So it would be 40,000 to hook the laptops up to the, like, that's what, that's
It's
what.
an iPad. Does it look in here? It says laptops, that's why.
I don't have.
Okay, we have the little Microsoft, is that what we would be using in this, or would it be something different?
It says laptop.
Okay.
Okay, seeing nothing more on that, Councillor Scott, you had something you wanted to?
The RV park upgrades. I'm in favor of removal of the old shower building, but I was just wondering what the breakdown of the 54.7 was. Was it things that council had recommended in previous discussion?
I think it was all those issues that were discussed at that meeting we had with the operator. Mr. Wall, is that? And I can't remember them all. Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor McPherson. Yeah, regarding the RV park, and also I guess further down the road is the golf course. In our course service review, it was, it kind of stated that it might be in council's interest to sell those two properties down the line at some point. So I'm just wondering if upgrading at this point is the right road to take, or are we gonna be looking into that at a later date? Just before we make any decisions. I know it was just an option. I know we haven't come to any like formal discussions about that, but this seems to be something we should be thinking of before we pass some of these upgrades. I do agree with Councillor Scott though that washroom trailer needs to go.
I think the upgrades, if we are gonna sell it, the upgrades are gonna increase the value of it so that we get this back. They hope anyway. Councillor Scott.
I just think going forward, it would be nice if we had the items that with the improvements listed, and then this would be clear, because we're like to go through and research everything, and go back in councillor minutes and stuff like that. That's a lot of work, and sure we can ask staff to hold that information as well. But again, that's taking up their time. If it were listed on here, then a person could break down and pull out what they don't deem necessary. I would make an amendment to go ahead with removal of the old shower building, but I don't know what the stuff would be. And, just one thing on that core service review, that's still a draft form, so I think we're kind of, if we're referring to recommendations out there, it hasn't even been finalized.
I did state that.
Oh.
Okay, so you've made an amendment that you wanna move the old shower building, you want to, not to.
I want to go
everything else
ahead
up?
with that, but I don't know what the other items are.
Okay, so your amendment is to remove everything but the shower building?
Yes, that would be my amendment.
Second of that. Councillor Hoff? Discussion yet? Councillor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor McPherson.
This is on the amendment?
Yeah, this is, I just wanna know if those other upgrades, were there anything to do with the roads going in and out? I know there was a lot of water pooling, I think if there was road, any kind of anything that the district should maintain. I mean, adding benches and fire pits, maybe we can do without, but I think any kind of road maintenance that needs to be done to make the camping better, because there was a lot of water issues and puddling down there in certain sites.
So,
I know.
so that's, I guess we gotta vote on the First Amendment, then you can make a second one.
This is where it's
Right,
street light,
easy.
Patty.
Thank you, Worship. Could be, someone just repeat what the motion is that's on the floor?
And the amendment?
Anyway,
The motion is, would be, 3.8, the recommendation is 3.8,
Mhm.
Schedule D. And the amendment, did we have that?
Would be to remove all items from the RV park upgrades with the exception of removing the old shower building.
okay, thank you.
Okay, on the amendment. All in favor? And, on the amendment, all in favor? Opposed? Yes, defeat, the amendment's defeated, so now, another amendment, you wanted to? Councilor Kirby, you were talking about?
I'd like to make the amendment to have the, old shower building removed and to do upgrades on roadways for drainage, etc. District roadways, or
Second for that? Scott? Discussion on that. You know, there is, one thing I was thinking of, there was a lot of different things like signage and that made a lot of sense too, that was asked for, so. I didn't bring a list because I agreed with what we were going to do, but, that's just where I stand. Councilor Kirkowski.
Thank you, Worship. I was actually just gonna say the same thing. I don't know what the list is, but I'm assuming that. Oh, sorry, I sorry, no, in there, sorry.
Agreeing with you, sorry.
Okay, but I'm hoping, I'm assuming, I should say, be the wrong word, I apologize. Assuming the staff has captured what came forward from the caretaker of it, and I think we all agreed to it. I don't know what the list is, but we captured it. But I just wanna make one comment, if I may, during that topic. You know, we sure seen, and I'm a part of it, discussed it, and we're all getting some good discussion, but on, section A, some of the discussion was sure held back, I think, but it sure seems to be opening up, so I'd like to see section A come back up, maybe at the end of this meeting, some more in-depth discussion if, council so wishes. It seems like we're, as council is getting along through the morning here, we're discussing more as a group, not involving staff, and I think that's the whole purpose.
And I can do that, bring Schedule A back.
So
Okay.
actually, so can I, it's in the same meeting.
All right, any more discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Okay, back to the original motion. No more discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor of the original motion? Opposed? Can I have all in favor again? Opposed? Carried. Okay, that takes us to Schedule E. You get the recommendation? Mr. Coca?
Council approves Schedule E as presented.
Scott? Discussion?
So, it's a small ticket item, but I just want clarification. I apologize. This is for council. So it's on page 2 of the document, visitor center landscape architect design report. Are we not completed over there with our landscaping? Or are we planning on erecting something else in front of the big center of the side? $20,000. It's small, but I don't get it.
I think this is more to do with, behind the Vic Center.
Mr. Wall, is that?
Yeah, the original Vic Center design was to have a cultivated space both beside and behind the visitor center. If you take a look at the original drawings, that hasn't been done. If council would like to see it get to that point, then we're gonna need these funds. If the visitor center is complete in your eyes, then we don't need these funds.
So cultivated what, sorry?
To enhance the back and side of the, you know, for picnic tables, grass, you know, that type of stuff.
So here comes one for you, your worship. If I may continue on that. In regards to all these overages by the community center, by the Vic Center, community center, I apologize, to the Vic Center, and we did all these, added on to the budgets and everything else, and how something like that gets missed. I don't get it. If that's, and I mean, listen, I'm not an architect, and I didn't look into drawings, that's not my job. But, how that did come out to be whenever council of the day approved. And I know we were on it at the end there to add things to it, but you know, it just seems kinda weird that we missed that one. Not them, we.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that, the visitor center, as far as I was concerned, what I voted on, it's sitting there right now.
Okay.
The only thing that's missing, I think, is a sign. The rest of it, we didn't know until we had the land done.
Okay.
And there's been people come up and they want turnarounds from motorhomes and stuff like that in behind there, which makes a lot of sense, so. Councillor Scott?
Page 2, the recreation master plan. Is this not very similar to our strategic planning? Or something that we could cover when we pull all of the plans we have together?
Mr. Walker?
This would be a recreation master plan focused on the recreation aspects. It would be different from your strategic plan. It would be, could be considered an addendum to the OCP. Councillor Scott, this was, I believe, what you were talking about, the report that Dawson Creek had done.
Okay, do we not have a Parks and Rec plan in our archive somewhere? That was my understanding, that we have already one of those in place.
Mr. Walker?
I'm not aware of any. If we do, we might have one from a long time ago.
I think our direction has changed from back then, you know, especially with the geopark stuff like that. A lot of this stuff is, are issues that we fought with over the last year with mulching of the trails, fish ponds, that, so. I guess this is just a plan of how to get that stuff done.
Well, we do have a lot of plans in place, so I'm kind of reluctant to do another study if we're not already implementing or using plans. Like, I don't want them sitting and collecting dust. So if this is something that's going to move, like our walking paths and the ORV and unite all of those, I would be in favor of that. But if it's just, you know, another plan that's going to sit and we're not going to put it to use, that's my concern.
I think, you know, when you come down to, say, you were mentioning the walking paths, the issue we had this year was, we didn't have a plan for it. We had something pushed ahead and then we had a problem with that. So, because we didn't have a plan for it, I guess this would give us that plan. Councillor.
Just on that, why do we need a plan? Why can't council and staff sit down and say, hey, this is what we're looking for, what's your opinion? I mean, Mr. Beal and Mr. Wall and all of his stuff, I mean, that's how we did, that's how we ended up approving it, and I mean, I'm gonna say it was always approved right, but that's how we approved coming down Monkman into Southgate, and then they took it and built it. I mean, the $120,000 for a plan, that's $120,000 in paving, that pays for that trail. It was $78,000 or $80,000 to do that trail. It gives us whatever the trail space, or whatever's beside it. That's the only reason I have an issue with that. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna remove it.
My argument, and I'm not arguing that if you want to remove this, that make an amendment to it, but my argument is that we sat in this room and said, the reason we had a problem with what happened is we didn't have a plan.
Yes, but we don't have to,
And this would give us that.
but we don't have to pay for the plan. We could do the plan, right? I mean, staff, we got great staff, and I mean, I'm pretty sure council's pretty, like me, yeah, we all have different opinions of a trail. It doesn't mean that we can't, scratch that part up, build it. I mean, we came forward, our staff came forward in regards to ATV mapping. Mr. Beal and them built a trail up across the four-way stop here. But there's no plan there, it was built by, I'm assuming staff looked at it, seen where they had to connect and built a trail with. That's all I'm saying.
Alrighty, so did you wanna?
No, it was just, like I said, it's nice to have discussion before we remove stuff. Open discussion.
Councillor Kirby.
Thank you, Mayor McPherson. This recreation master plan, does it include the soccer fields, ball diamonds, the basketball courts, tennis courts, being age friendly, youth sport camps? Like, I'm just thinking, is that gonna entail everything that we've talked about, or upkeep, cause we have upkeep to the ball diamonds, does that fall under this kind of a plan?
I
Just
think
wondering.
it would involve anything that's recreation, which would be all of what you mentioned. Mr. Wall, is that not correct?
That's correct. So they would go through a consultation process and see what assets we have and where the community wants to go. I'm sure it would involve talks with council on what you'd like to see as far as recreation goes with the community. So I can't say this item for sure would be in the recreation master plan at the end of the day, but everything that you've talked about could be included if the study felt it was warranted to include Tumbler Ridge.
So we would be hiring out for someone to come in and do another evaluation?
That's correct.
And to head up with, and so that might come saying that we would maybe need to hire a recreation coordinator or something like that. So we're gonna investigate it from bottom to.
Struck.
Is this where we could also give the proponent, if we went forward with this, all of our other plans, so they could pull everything together, so we would come out with.
I'm sure that would be part of this, if they look at what we have had. Look at where we want to go.
When we went into our strategic session, we had the cemetery, we had various plans, there was the downtown revitalization, and it would be nice to bring them all together with steps on how to plan with the whole community. And, the timing would be perfect going into an OCP update. And if there needs to be rezoning issues and stuff like that, that would be a fantastic time for the two to work together and give the next council, because this will be a year, involvement. That would give the next council coming in some guidelines that what might make it easier to move forward.
Councillor Kirkuk.
It's not even on that, it's on another item on page 1, bottom environmental impact studies. When we put the blowers in, it's 45, it's a small price tag, it's just clarification, some discussion around the table there. So, to me, when we put that in, we must have known the grant would have had to be available back then. So to me, we would have had to have done that, so why are we waiting to, or do we have to complete it because once the blowers are done, that's when we complete it? It's the budget, 45,000. Like I said, small ticket item, I'm just curious.
I read through his, and it just enables us to go up to 600,000.
Yeah, so do I.
Mr. Wall, is there anything you can add to that?
This was, we did talk about the fact that when the blowers came in, we were gonna have to do a study on this because the feds in the province are looking at harmonizing their discharge, and that's what the grant is for, is to make sure that we are going to be compliant with the new feds and provincial harmonization of their affluent discharge rules.
So is that after the blowers are installed then? Like the blowers aren't in yet, right? That's why there's a budget added earlier for that amount, $900,000 to finish the blower. So the study has to be done before we put the blowers in? After. Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. Call the question on the motion. All in favor? Did you get that? All in favor?
We had the motion,
Yeah, it's Schedule E,
yes,
3.9,
right, fair enough, thank you.
recommendation.
Mhm.
Did you have something to say?
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't get a chance there, but Visitor Information Center, like Daryl had said, this is $20,000 to come up with a recommendation of how to complete the beautification. It's just a recommendation, we're gonna pay 20 grand to somebody to come in and say, plant some grass. And that's ridiculous, the master plan, $120,000, I agree with Daryl, we don't need to be spending money to do that. We got enough stuff on this budget as it is for staff to do,
And then the OCP for $150,000
Again, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves and we're coming up with more and more plans and not implementing it. To me, I'm against the entire Schedule E at this point until we can start picking them up.
apart one by one.
Thank you. Okay. All the question on the 3.9, Schedule E, the recommendation is that we approve the Schedule E as presented. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, I need the recommendation for C10.
Council approves Schedule F as presented.
Alright. Discussion. One that I see in there that, and I get pre-approved, was from last year, that phone system, I think it's terrible, the phone system we got here. I can't seem to use it. It's a good thing I got a cell phone. Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna hit the same thing up, I'm just curious why the delay, and I see that balance will occur in year 2 of 2018. In Mr. Walsh thing, okay, the balance will occur in year 2 of 2018. The very bottom of that page 2. Select Aspire, pause begin installation of unit upgrade, the balance will occur in year 2 of 2018. So is this just to find somebody?
Mr. Wall.
Apologies, we made a change to this. We had it split out into two to do the assessment in 2017 and work in 2018. So the reason this project didn't get started in 2017 was it was resting with the finance department, and we had a changeover in finance staff, so it wasn't able to be done. We had planned on doing the same thing, but we've moved this project over into a different department that believes they have the resources to accomplish it all in this year. So that last sentence should have been struck out when we thought we could do it all this year.
My apologies, because I didn't catch that as well, your worship, in regards to that discussion with Mr. Ward. I seen that. I have a couple of things. The other one is in regards to ball diamond repairs and stuff. Last year we removed ball diamonds. And then all the fencing was thrown into a recycling bin. I've been just curious, that's not my job, but why we don't recycle as a district on our own. If we know another project's gonna be coming up, why we're not keeping some of that stuff? Whether it's I know we have a disposal, policy, but to me, we should look at some of our own recycling of our own materials if it's able to use. Just don't know.
I'm sure we can bring that back to the ancient SR policy.
The other thing I have, Your Worship, is the winter sand pit on page 1. See, there's some money's outstanding still from the previous year, and I just want to get an overview from staff if we may, and if not, that's fine. Just where we are on that gravel pit. If there's still, some stuff wasn't done, obviously, in 2016, I'm curious. We don't have a report stating what isn't done, so I'm curious what hasn't been done.
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I can get back to council with that answer.
But there's nothing budgeted, that, Your Worship, I just see it's a budget from 2016, so for 2017, there's no increase for the gravel pit, so curious, are we taking control of the gravel pit in 2017, not taking control of the gravel pit in 20? There's a few questions there. Because I would assume if this is the last outstanding pieces of the puzzle, we're gonna take control of something like that, there's gonna be another expense there. Once you take operation of it. Whether it's hiring crushers or buying crushers or what have you. That's what concerns me about that type of thing.
Yeah, and you can look at the other way too, it's gonna be a savings to us, because those things are not having to buy.
No, I agree with that, but that $63,000 is not to produce that, is my understanding, is to finish some of the studying that was supposed to be done, environmental and all that. So I'm just noticed there's nothing in there if we take ownership of that pit. Or if something was missed, or I'm missing
No,
something.
the Councillor Cook is correct. There's no operational cost because this is your capital budget. Operational costs can't be included in your capital budget. So the cost to operate the sand pit can't be included in here because that's an operational cost. So
So the core
there's,
side,
pardon?
on your core side then?
Yes, that's correct.
So again, no machine costs, needed for that, taking over that? To your worship, sorry, I'm not talking to Mr. Wolf, I'm talking to you. Sorry, I just know how you asked for the meeting to be directed, and I
Yeah,
apologize.
yeah,
I was talking to Mr. Wall, but through to you, like, but no capital, so we're not looking at, buying equipment for that, yeah? Specifically? Because I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm, tell you the truth, I would think there'd have to be a crusher or something, but, Mr. Wall, can you,
So this is for the purchase of capital, so it could be the purchase of the land, machinery. Are we buying our own crusher or are we renting it? If we're renting it on a lease to do the crushing every year, then that would be an operational cost, not within your capital budget. If we're buying a crusher, that would be within your capital costs.
I think the way they, a lot of the gravel pits work, they just bring in a outfit that crushes.
Mhm.
They do a pile and then they take off and you just use the pile.
So you hit the note, you hit that on the head there, because that's gonna be my next question was to you. So if we're talking about that, was that cost implemented into the report that we received before we made motions and recommendations and votes? Because to me, we look for the whole picture, so if we're taking over something, and you just hit it on the nose on yourself, that if we're gonna rent it, buy it, have somebody come in and do it for us, was that part of the proposal where it says that we're saving us this many thousands of dollars over a 5-year plan?
I know the cost of gravel, buying the way we were buying, went way up, and that was the reason we looked at this.
Mhm.
I've had discussions about this with other municipalities, they all think this is the way to go.
I know,
I
I'm just
think-
wondering if all of our costs were actually in there when we made a vote. Or if I made a vote not knowing all my costs.
I would like to think that all the costs are in there, but Mr. Wall.
I'd have to take a look at that report. I believe that report was produced 2015, so I'm not sure I've seen it. But if I recall correctly, there were operational costs contained within the report, but we'd have to pull out the report and see what was there.
I'm just kidding, it's not too
I think we've gone to a point where we're headed in this direction, and that's a decision of the council. And, this is just continuing. Okay, any other discussion? Councilor Hall?
District telephone system, there's a note here, why we shouldn't rush things. What's the idea on the note there?
I would think it's because things change so fast, but Mr. Wall.
It's an excellent question. That was a note from when we did the budget last year. I think what had happened was we were looking to just replace phones across the district, and we were trying to get it included in the budget last year. And I put a note there, this is why we shouldn't rush things, because it turned out we needed to upgrade to the entire communication system of the district. So I think that's what that comes from.
Okay.
Councilor.
Thank you, I apologize. There's a couple things I thought, and it's definitely not a carryover, but I thought there was some money put last year. I mean, I'm glad to see we've got money going, and maybe it was a 2-year process in regards to promotional items, update street banners and trade show booths and stuff like that. Is this the second year of that process, or am I losing my mind?
Which one are you at on that?
Sorry, page 2, see? Just the second one up, it's one of these, it's going, just use, of course, we don't have, that's where it comes in nice to have that other report of what we budgeted in 2016 and what we spent, because then you can flip back at home and go through it, kind of match it up to whatever's being spent.
Mr. Wall,
I don't think that there was much done for promotional items. We did maybe you're thinking about the branding process. We spent money on the branding process. We haven't replaced our promotional items in quite a while because we knew there was no point we were gonna be going. With this, we needed to get the trade show boost, get the giveaways and stuff like that. So I can say our EDO supply room is bare bones now. And we need to stock up if we're gonna continue promoting the town in the way we have in the past.
So just on that, Your Worship, I mean, it's just to council, I mean, I know we just set a price and let them do their thing, that's fine. I would hope to see, or maybe after this recommendation, maybe make a report, to see a report come back in regards to our street banners. What I'm talking about, I'm assuming what they're talking about there is the little banners that we hang on the light posts. They get wind blowing every day when we have a 100-mile-an-hour wind, they get apart, we replace them constantly. I've seen Dawson Creek has gone to metal, very nice looking, so maybe that's not the way we wanna go. Or the report won't come back with that as a recommendation from staff, it's just something to look at. Like, to me, they take them down, clean them and paint them if they have to, and then put them back. Doesn't mean we don't have other, the staff wouldn't wanna have, you know, our season banners for whatever they need, but permanent ones to go up in the summertime, I know they're cloth as well.
Okay. Councillor Scott.
It's the last one on page 2, the MetaSouth grant database. Last year, when we were going into budget, I'd asked, or when we had to type up our own reports, that we track the grants that we have applied for and get a report of follow-ups, because sometimes when we are successful, there's report filing at the end of the grant to make sure we've met financial obligations and all of that stuff, or money will go back. With this database, assist us in doing that. It looks like it provides what's out there, but will it also track somehow what we have applied for and where we are in that process?
I think that's the idea, this, Mr. Wallace.
No, this is a database to get access to the grants. It won't track what we apply for.
Yes.
I have a stupid question. Maybe I'm missing it, maybe it makes sense, but Infotech, Vic, and I get the other part, but I'm just kind of curious why line painting and winter sand would be more or less in this tech info Vic stuff. Just wondering if it was maybe missed in a previous budget line and that's why it's added here? Just a stupid question, just being nosy.
Which one?
I'll leave it. Winter
Be
sand.
under the other category. So they would fall under the other category.
But is there a reason, your worship, we would put it there? Other when we do have other capitals, to me it would sit. This seems weird to me.
It's there, so.
Vic project completion items, most of this work was originally approved and started in 2015, this is finished work already in progress. It was already approved in 2015, shouldn't this be a carryover item?
I would have to check what was approved in 2016. It might have been approved in 2015 and taken out in 2016. I'd have to double check that, but it may be.
Maybe a carryover item?
Okay, on the question, schedule that. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, schedule G, golf course. Get the recommendation.
Council approves schedule G as presented.
Second. Scott. Discussion.
I got two here, replace 12 electric golf carts. Pretty sure we just replaced a bunch of golf carts down there and I'm almost positive that was it. Did we sell those off or were they leased or what happened there with those golf carts?
I think there's golf course getting traded off, the new ones. I'm not sure if the last ones we bought, some of the golf carts down there get traded in on these ones. That's why the prices are that.
So all the ones that we just brought in, we're going to now trade them in and get new ones?
I would think they're the older ones. Just well,
This is the remaining electric carts that we have. So all the electric carts were not replaced. This would see the remaining electric carts.
Yeah, we went to, just correct me if I'm wrong there, I thought we went to gas carts down there for maintenance issues because we were worried about the battery storage over the winter or something like that. Didn't we go to gas carts with the last batch that we bought? And I apologize for not bringing this one to you, I missed this one the first time around, but.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Law, Your Worship Council. Last year, we replaced, don't remember the number, 9 or 10 electric carts with the gas carts. So this is the remaining of the electric carts that we'll replace this year. So it would be in addition to the current fleet, which is, don't quote me on the number of gas carts, I think it's 9 or 10. And we still have 12 electric carts. Yeah, so at the end of it, it would be 22 gas carts, if council accepted.
So
this would get rid of, this would phase out all the electric carts,
That's correct.
trade them in and then get gas ones. Okay.
And then the last one here, just a point of reference that we talked about in council meetings many times over. It's the golf course replacement items, and one specifically here says replacing a barbecue. Remember, we talked about it many, many times in here about the tables and the barbecues being left out in the winter, and that, you know, we were worried that that stuff would get damaged. And here we are replacing it, so. That's the point.
Ready?
Just on it. I mean, I'm not worried about the barbecue. I'm sure that's why the new building was built, so I'm assuming it's all stored inside now. I thought that was the idea of building the new thing last year. So I'm just curious, is that all stuff that's been stored inside this year?
That's correct.
Okay. Anything else on this? All in favor? Opposed?
Okay, I'm gonna revisit special aid.
Yeah, first we'll,
Do we have to have a vote on bringing back aid, or usually I thought we had that unanimous vote?
So your worship can bring it back with just a 4-3 vote on reconsideration, and anybody on council who voted in the negative to defeat it can bring it back for reconsideration, which would require a majority vote.
okay, before we go on that break, I'll just bring this back. All in favor? We bring it back. Opposed? Okay. We will talk about it after our 5-minute break.
Council, just keep in mind that the recording's still going when you're on the break, so.
Oh, sorry, what?
Hey, Mr. Mike, I love your house. Oh, it looks awesome. As I drive down the road, and I'm looking at all the changes and what it's gonna happen.
different, huh?
It's a lot, and my kids are like, oh, I painted his door. And we were being pretty nosy neighbors every time we go by to see what was gonna happen.
One thing was, it was a hell of a lot warmer in winter time
Yeah.
than it was.
And your carpenters, they hammered out through all that cold weather too.
Wow.
They persevered. Looks really awesome. It looks good.
Thank you very much.
Slow.
holidays around? More holidays around?
Whether it's
So I was looking for the
spring, but, not sure for, that's not for sure yet. Yeah, it's just, get some friends.
That's why I'm
2 weeks, and that's not enough, and 3 weeks isn't enough. Yeah.
And it's never been changed. Yeah, it's never been changed.
So,
I'm thinking April. When break.
special one.
Well, we'll go down.
Have a dance.
You were trying to like
Yeah, now I'm getting.
OCD happening?
Council wanted,
I'm only to this point.
this was yesterday, but council wanted,
Be a council.
That was right off.
If not, it's
council schedule.
I know, that's why.
I used to.
I think maybe see where we're at. I'm not sure if you guys agree with that.
I know the name.
So, you know, we'll make the motion, and you would go one by one. Make a recommendation, I keep $400,000 so we can actually do direction. Until we can figure out the other one, that way maybe we can have a after meeting and see how we do it.
You guys wanna do that?
Like, I get it, let's make some, like, I get what you're saying, but that's why I wanted both quotes, because I knew that turned out.
I'll have to get it. Council agreed.
Yeah, well, we can make it, well, it'll be a recommendation.
Moving the other.
We've got a couple of minutes yet.
I sent him an email. Like,
Mr. Wall set this up, isn't it? That's why I know this.
Satisfied.
It's the same. When he sent this out, so this is one. Yeah, he said, no, when we're all hospital, when the deadline was for the, for our schools. So no, in January.
And that's the one I have in my calendar at the office, my calendar.
So this was what was. Of course, I find it.
I brought that to council, council wanted it done before the end of February, so we rescheduled with council. So that was, yeah, that was never adopted, it was rejected.
That's all. I was here.
Bring this back to order. I'd like to change the way we're gonna re-look at this Schedule A. So what do we have to do to be able to do that? Do we have to defeat the last motion that we made, or?
No, so you've brought it back for reconsideration, you can enter into the discussion how you like now.
I think we should, do these, section by section, go through this and have some discussion on it. But this is very important stuff that I hate to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and this is what I'm saying. So, that's the way we'll do this schedule. First, we'll look at paving, seal coating, pavement management. And I'd like to get a recommendation to approve that. And I'll bring it up for discussion again. Councilor McKay?
So moved.
Councilor Kukuka? Okay, discussion on it. Councilor Kukuka?
So, my only comment here is if we're already down bottom and doing down bottom, in the roadway assessment report, there's priority 1 for a full redo and priority 1 for a top. I know we're asking for 4 million here, and those two reports, it actually adds up to be more, but I don't understand why we're not following, we paid for documentation, another report, which, again, it was in this budget again to do more reports, and then we don't implement it. So in the payment report on page, of course, 101, but anyways, full depth road repair priority 1, and then there's the overlay full priority, so mining, milling and overlay priority 1. I don't understand why we wouldn't take those two priorities and do them. Works could be, yeah, it's probably $10 million. We have a surplus of 22 million or whatever, unless a company can't handle that, but we paid guys come in and do the reading of the roads. I believe Mr. Wall's staff did some of the underground sewage readings and stuff to make sure the pipes were all getting it there, and so to me, they took priority 1 and only took some pieces off priority 1. If we're already down there, I'd know why we're not staying down there. Mr. Wall?
If you take a look at the report that's attached to that has the information on paving, what you see in that roadway corridor assessment is the 2 different costs for the type of work that may be done. We don't know what type of work needs to be done yet. That's not what that report had in it. It was a listing the different costs. We need to check and see, excuse me. We are trying to find out where the road base is at. So once we know what the road base is at, we'll know the cost if we're doing the full depth reconstruction or if we're just doing the pulverization. So as far as the priorities goes, we don't have the information yet to know whether or not we're doing the full depth reconstruction or if we're just replacing the asphalt.
So what I read into this was that this $4 million, that's the best case scenario. It could get worse than that.
So, yeah.
It would come back to council.
As contained in the report, if the damage to the base is more than what we suspect it is, the cost is going to be significantly higher because we're going to have to replace all the tied-in infrastructure. If the base is in the condition that we suspect it to be, then we won't need to replace all of the sidewalks, lampposts, and everything at the same time. Now, again, contained within the report, if council wants to just replace everything because we're going along, that's something we can do. So the recommendation on the work that we'd be looking at this year would change from 4 million to 8.5. And that's where you're seeing that difference in cost.
Well, that's not what I'm saying here on full depth road repair priority 1, set out by the company that the district hires to do the road reviews, right? Do the SMA. What page? It's at the back. So it's after page, the page numbers aren't very well, sorry. You go to the back and work your way to the front. But it says Bergeron Drive to Mayon Place, 50 meters, full depth repair. Is that their recommendation? That's what I'm wondering. If that's what they're recommending, why wouldn't we go? Because they're the ones that read the road with a scanner. So that's what I'm curious of.
There's still a report to come on what a lot of that stuff on the base and that. They don't know for sure yet.
So how do you have that information?
Is that?
How do you have that information? Because I've read this report. It doesn't say anything about coming back.
Mr. Wall.
Yeah, council, what Mayor McPherson just said is on page 9 of your, between pages 8 and 11 of your staff report here. So what is contained in that roadway corridor assessment, this report, what's contained in that roadway corridor assessment is the different potential options that we're going to have to look at. We don't know if we need a full base reconstruction yet. That's coming in a report. If you take a look at page 11, it says, when will we know which type of reconstruction will be needed? Answer, end of March. So we don't know yet. We need to take samples on the base. And at that point, we're going to know which path we have to go down. So that report is laying out, you've got 2 different options here. You don't know which one it is. You've got your overlay, and then you've got your full depth reconstruction. And here are the different costs depending on which path we have to go down. So,
Yes. Did you finish?
no, if council's not comfortable making this decision now, this is in place because council told us you wanted paving this year. We don't have the information to know whether it's a full depth reconstruction. If council's not comfortable making this, you can delay your decision on what you wanna do until next year. We are confident we can get the work done, but right now, we don't know if it's a full depth reconstruction or a overlay that we need yet.
So just on it, can we use this report for a second? So to me, we paid how much to have it done? And to me, the recommendation in here from this company, from Bridgewater Drive to my own place, is full depth repair. How did they come up with that recommendation in the paperwork if they weren't able to read the base? That's what I'm curious, like, we paid quite a substantial, I don't know what the dollar was, in regards to this. So what I'm wondering is how does they come forward and say that this is what it needs, and now we're saying, well, we gotta wait because we're not really sure. So are we not believing their information and gonna look further into it? Or are they coming back because they didn't get all the information they needed? Yes, that's what I'm looking for. Just because I read this one, so on that one there on the full depth road repair, then you have milling and overlay. The road is Bergeron, but the road to road is from my end place to Caller's place. That's a different road. So that's what I'm curious.
I think staff's recommendation here is based on this report. But there is some of the work that has been done. How they come to that judgment in there, I don't know.
So are we second guessing their report? Mr. Wall.
I just direct council's attention to page 11 of your current agenda. Question number 1, why are there more assessments required? Was the roadway corridor assessment not enough? Answer, no, the roadway corridor assessment report only covered the surface infrastructure and not the subsurface infrastructure such as the subgrade, water, sanitary, and storm lines. So again, what we're saying here is that this report is providing you costs on the different scenarios that may come out from a future assessment. So they assessed the pavement, they did not take a look at the subgrade, which is coming in the next assessment that we're doing. So what that report doesn't contain the information on whether or not the subgrade, sanitary, and stormwater was damaged or needs to be replaced. What they did was take a look at the top of the road and see, okay, well, this one is failing the fastest. It doesn't get underneath the road, which is what the subsequent reports are going to be telling us.
So, didn't we approve a road law, to go underneath to look at the pipes? So it wasn't, I thought that was done by our staff.
We've done some of that, I think here we're talking more about what Councillor Howe was mentioning before. If we're gonna pave, we wanna pave it right so it lasts for the 20 years kind of thing.
I agree.
You know, and that's, it's look, to me, reading this, they have just things that they still haven't reported on. I think the recommendations were from this report, but there has to be some more information gathered.
So the information I voted on, the information I received last year was that we were gonna be reading the pipes ourselves. We had somebody come in and do the pressure testing of the water systems, and they were able to hear and do a sound barrier test on them. But that we were doing the other pipes, that's why we put a budget together in regards to buying a machine to go underneath and stop them. So are we not done that part of ours? And I thought we were continuing with them as my.
The decision on whether or not we can go with just repairing the pavement, or the decision on whether or not we have to do a full base reconstruction, is a test on the subgrade which needs to be done yet, and we don't know. So again, the roadway corridor assessment will look at what is the condition of your pavement, which pavement is failing the fastest, and which one has the biggest risk. So this assessment that you have right now, Councilor Dakota, is telling you what is the condition of the pavement. What we need to do, and the big question, big money question for council, is taking a look at that base of the subgrade. Is the subgrade in good enough condition that we can take the pavement off and repave? Or is the subgrade deteriorating, so that needs to be redone? And that's where the big costs come in. We have to rip out the road base, we have to take out all the tied-in infrastructure as well. So that's why the difference between just repaving and then redoing the subgrade is $4 to $8.5 million. So that's the big decision that has to be left. And the roadway corridor assessment, again, just took a look at what is the condition of your pavement.
So maybe what the confusion there is full depth repair. I think what these guys in their report mean full depth repair, correct me if I'm wrong, is just to strip off the asphalt and not depth all the way down to the pipe, it's just the asphalt, that's their full depth repair. Is that correct? In the report where they say a full depth repair, what are they including in a full depth repair? They're only including getting off the asphalt, regrading it, and then piling the asphalt back on, that's full depth?
I don't have the report in front of me. If this is something council needs more information on, maybe we have another chat offline, because we're getting into pretty technical details here and stuff. So again, I would say what that report did was take a look at the top layer. What we still need to do is find out what's below, and that will determine what the price is gonna be on what we're paying and how much we have to do.
I think the discussion here is, what's been put in front of us here is, if that subgrade, if that depth stuff is good, we wanna go ahead and pave it.
That's correct.
And if it's not, then we'll have another look at it and we will revisit. Councillor Kirby and then Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mayor McPherson, you answered my question just with your comment there, so.
Will we have all of the information to go forward by the end of March? Is that pretty firm?
We've got all the companies lined up to come and the reporting dates, so unless something changes, yes.
Okay,
Sorry, I have one more, Your Worship. I apologize, like it's, so I'm not gonna worry about the other part, but let's go with milling and overlay. So are we checking those bases too then? Is that the idea, like when it says priority 3 on our very back page, is that what you're gonna do? We're gonna check that one too, or just mill it and overlay the asphalt back up?
we are gonna check everything before we change the pavement. That's my view on it. We do not want, I've seen them just slap pavement down and next thing you know, it's like this. We don't want that. We're gonna check everything, make sure that base is good, and then we'll put some pavement down. If not, we'll fix the base, and then, pave, which would be a lot more money. But what they're asking for here is just if it's a good base, we do the pavement.
Yes, I get that. I guess my question is, milling and overlay, I'm wondering, are we looking at the same thing, having to check that base? Because what's the two differences on this report? It's not on my report.
Okay. Okay. I have a question. You have something?
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that we're not automatically replacing all the curbs, gutter, lamp posts, catch basins, freshwater systems, wastewater systems. This is based on the assessment when we get down there.
That'll all come back if we have to do that.
But we are doing the catch basins that was part of the budget. Because
That
we,
need to be done, yeah, that our regular maintenance thing. Yes, Mr. Wall.
So if council was to pass this $4 million, what we have in here is cost for what we think is going to be to do the work that needs to be done. So it won't replace every piece of infrastructure should they be failing. That's something that would have to come back to council. So what you would do if you pass this would be to give staff the direction to spend $4 million to attempt to do the work that we've said here, which would include the replacement of some catch basins if they needed to be and stuff like that. So if staff were to take a look at this, it goes out to tender, because again, staff doesn't set the prices on this, and it comes back and it's gonna be significantly over, or we're getting into a place where it's uncomfortable, then we come back to council and then we go. But what's included in this price is staff's ability to go through and do the work that needs to be done. So if there's catch basins that need to be replaced, we'll replace the catch basins. If there's some parts of sidewalk, we'll do that. If the cost ends up being more than $4 million to do that, then we come back to council.
Okay. Yes.
And would you have a cost available to do the entire, lower bench?
We could develop that cost, yes.
cause that's kind of where I'm at. I think that we should maybe look at doing the entire lower bench, depending on what it is, like, if the cost is, looks like to me, you've got more than 2/3 of it done with the roads you're talking about. If it's another couple $1 million to do the entire lower bench, maybe that's a discussion. I don't know when we have that. I thought that was today, but you look at the reports, there's stuff in there where they talk about doing spruce and steep rock and stuff like that. Like, you know, to me, if you're gonna focus on one area, you do that one area so that that one area doesn't fail, you know, along with the other areas, like spacing out makes sense, but the moving the equipment around doesn't make a pile of sense to me. And this is including Pioneer Loop as well, right? So we're gonna do Pioneer Loop, all 4 lanes of Pioneer Loop. Like how that tie-in works from the old asphalt to the new asphalt, it always doesn't seem to flow very good there, but.
Well, you know what the report was in the report, so, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I guess I would like to see in the next 5 years, so much in each year, because, to get us to where we're finished, but this is, for Bergeron and, the other parts that were mentioned in the report, so I'm gonna call the question.
Your worship, do you mind if I?
Yes.
So, what Councillor Howe, what you were talking about there is correct. If you're looking to have more done, that's the type of things that we need to know. So you can pass that motion saying, you know, give me a cost on more of it. That's where council, you should be looking at in these budget discussions, is setting the amount of money that you want to have done on these projects. So if you want to spend more than $4 million to try and see if we can get the whole part done, that's where council sets your direction to staff.
So what you should be doing is making an amendment to this.
If you want to see more paving done this year, then you can either just set the amount that you're willing to spend. So let's say you're willing to spend $8 million on paving, then set the amount at $8 million. If you want to know how much it's going to cost to finish off the bottom bench, ask for a report from staff to see what the cost to finish off the bottom bench is, and then decide at that time.
We can add that in a month from now if the cost is not too.
Okay, I've got Councillor Scott.
I was just liking that idea, like doing a complete lower bench and getting a cost on that. I support what Councilor Howe is asking for. And Councilor Howe.
Okay, does somebody want to make an amendment to this?
Can we make an amendment to include a report for costs for the complete lower bench being paid?
Yeah, we'll approve the 4 million and ask for a report on doing the lower bench. Okay, that'll be, that's an amendment, seconder for that. Any more discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment? Okay, now on the original motion, when the paving and seal coating and pavement management for the other, which is in our report, $4 million. All in favor? Okay. Okay, the next one is very dear to my heart. Cemetery expansion phases. The first line is what I'm worried about. Folks and the rest of you guys.
I think we're only down to 2 plots now.
Hey, did I get motion for the cemetery expansion phases 2 and 3? Be done?
So moved.
Councilor Ty, seconder. Councilor Kirby. Discussion? Councilor Howe?
With the expansion of phase 1 still not complete, what will the expansion of phase 1 give us? Will it give us any more roads?
Well,
Just a minute, just don't dance, eh?
So at the end of phase 1, the area for the new plots would be laid out, that's correct.
And how much cost is that at the end of phase 1?
Enough to see us through for a while.
Any other discussion on it? Councilor Scott?
During the asset management committee meetings, we had asked for a report to come back to decrease, because I think the original one was up to 1 million. And we asked for insistence to have a report come back at half of that. So I don't know how much that report is going to cost. I think if we can just get through phase 1 at this point, and then maybe move this to next year once we see the follow-up, that's what I would be looking at doing.
Okay. Else? Okay.
Just the recommended came from the asset management committee was that the project be completed, engineering and contingency included for $450,000. So unless council leaves some money to have the engineering done, the project won't move forward in 2017.
But phase 1 would be.
Phase 1 would be completed. Phase 2 and 3 couldn't move forward unless council was to keep the engineering funds in 2017.
Okay, so if we want to put phase 2 and 3 off for a year, we just move this down.
That's correct.
Ready? No question on that. All in favor of doing it? Against? Okay, the fire hall roof, exterior and insulation. Get the recommendation. Proceed with that. Councilor Scott? Discussion. Councilor Hall?
Does this do the entire building envelope, windows, doors, and everything?
Mr. Wall?
That's correct.
What are the costs to heat the building per year? Do we have any idea on that? Is it gas heat?
I don't know.
But this would definitely lower that, I would imagine. Okay, any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? Public Works Building envelope. Recommendation to proceed with that. Make the recommendation.
Recommendation to Public Works Building envelope.
Okay. Seconder? Captain Kai? Discussion. Councilor Hall?
I assume we won't have the yearly cost to heat this building either, and if we do, that'd be great. And does this do the roof as well? Does the roof need?
Well, let's include the roof.
I don't believe so, no. Actually.
I don't imagine it has to be done, that's why we did it. Any other discussion? All in favor of this? Opposed? Yeah, Town Hall building envelope. Proceed with that. Recommendation, Councilor Kirkcock. And second, Councilor Scott. Discussion. Councilor Howell.
Do we have a current value of the building?
Mr. Waller. Councilor Kirkcock.
Just on, I can't remember if it was made at one of these meetings or if it was made at the asset management, but looking at a report, getting a report back to see what it is to build a new town hall. I'm not sure if it was done here or at the asset management, I'm just wondering if you're gonna come close to.
Can, question to you, Mr. Vulcan, can a report like that be part of this? Could be a cost of doing this and the cost of.
I I mean, how do we give council a cost on a new building? What do you want in the new building? Do you want a 2-story building? Do you want a 3-story building? Do you want a basement? Where are you gonna put it? So,
I do know that, we can look at what Chetwynd did, and, I think that come to, you probably know more, well, I'd be guessing, but.
the project ended up quite over budget. I'm not sure where it ended up. They were budgeting for 2, and I think it got closer to 8 or 10.
That's what I've been told. The 10 is what, Mayor Nichols was 3.5 up.
Thank you,
Councilor
Worship.
Kirkland.
So just on that, yeah, you could throw that out there as a Tuesday, or what is the building gonna be? But I think that's what we kind of drafted as, is looking what Chetwynd did. It was just through the asset management, I believe, but it was just to have something to come back to show what the renovation cost would be, could be, or what a new building could be, and weigh those two options. I believe that's what was talked around the asset management, so I just wanna make sure that that was clear. That we looked at the Chetwynd concept, and even the same size of building we have here, with a few extra spaces for Mr. Wall if they were to engage more staff. So to say that 2-story, 3-story, what you want, I think it was just a pretty simple report, so it gave ideas, because this isn't the full envelope, but things keep still coming back. I just see the community center swimming pool, they're looking for windows, we just did that envelope, previous council did that. Doing the whole outside of the building, why wouldn't we look at windows and doors and all that? Like, that's all I'm saying, I mean, we keep throwing the pieces of puzzle together, and it's gonna keep coming back to you. I'm only here for another 1 year, so.
But it's constant maintenance on buildings. I mean, those windows and doors might have been good when we did the siding and all that. And, we were looking at ways to keep that cost under control too.
I get
I
that.
think we did a pretty good job, but if it needs windows now, I mean, that happens.
No, I get that, I'm just saying as well.
Yeah. Councilor Hall.
Just why, when you have the value of a building, you can look at your maintenance costs of what it's costing to redo or revamp the building. If you're talking 10-15% over a 36-year period, I think that's a fairly good spend. But if we're talking $2 million to replace the building, and we're talking about spending $150,000, we've already spent $400,000 to have the building looked at. We could have put a new building in. That's why I'm looking for costs associated with. The rec center was a $50 million asset, I think. We put $5 million into it as a 10% upgrade to bring it to the value that it was. That to me is a good spend. But if you don't know what the value of the product is at the beginning, how can you decide that you're gonna spend any amount of money on it? I don't know what it's worth. My 2 cents, I'll be voting against it.
Okay. Anybody else? All in favor? Opposed? Next one is the cemetery expansion again, phase 1. I think we've talked about that. I think we want to do that, so I will make a recommendation. Okay, Councilor Kirkland, Councilor Scott, any more discussion on this? All in favor? Okay, the 2 underbody plow trucks. Want to replace those? Get a recommendation on that? Councilor Kirkland, Councilor Scott? Discussion.
So again, like I said, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, didn't see it. Again, I know, like I said, that's why I was hoping this would be brought back in the meeting, seeing the discussion opened up a bit. Again, just wondering the use. Is it a multi-use? Is it just for snow plowing and sanding? Is it the same type of trucks we're looking at buying? Are we looking at bigger trucks? Just trying to get are we replacing with the same kind of equipment on the trucks?
Well,
Council would like a report on our tendering process and what we're looking for, we can do so.
I would imagine it's just replacing the same 2 trucks that would be stated here. Councilor Hall.
How many do we have in the district? How many underbody plow trucks?
This is it.
Okay, so that's where I think Councilor Krakoka was going with this previously, is why would we replace them both in the same year? So that you get into the same issue 10 years down the road, and you've got to replace 2 again. But now, 3 years from now, you stagger it out, so we're not into the same problem we were in Townsend Ridge, where everything was built 36 years ago and you're replacing everything the same day. So, to me, I would be in favor of replacing 1 underbody plow truck, but not 2.
Would you like to make an amendment? And I don't think we say which one, because we don't know the shape of
Don't
the.
care.
Yeah. So if you'd like to make an amendment, I would,
And just another question to that, like, I don't see why, you know, we have a cost associated with it, just wondering, we should know what we're getting for our money, we shouldn't have to get a report done on it, the money is already budgeted there for it. So what are they dual purpose, or are they just an underbody plow truck, or are they a gravel truck, or a dump truck? What are they?
the ones we got now are, they're used for spreading gravel and they're.
Yeah, I'll pass it over to Mr. Beal to explain more about what the trucks do. I would say that we had both of these trucks break down this year and we had to go out and lease them, so council, any piece of equipment you decide not to replace, will just be increasing our operational budgets to cover the costs of repair. So Mr. Beal, do you wanna go over what these pieces of equipment do?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wall, your worship, council. We currently have 2 plow trucks. One of them is a majority winter use, but they're both dual purpose. So we do haul gravel materials with them. We do send them out of town as well to transport materials from other companies, such as topsoil and so forth. But they're not just single use. We do use them all 4 seasons. With the gravel pit being out of town, we'll be using them for gravel hauling to our facility at Public Works. Replacement though won't be a single axle, it'll be 1 tandem axle, so we get more use of it as well.
I think something we gotta keep in mind, and that's the cost of repairs. As you know, Will, in your business, repairs add up, and then you start, throwing money, I mean, in '93 and in '97, you know, makes my old dump truck look pretty good. That's your guy.
Yeah, I just gotta, along those lines there, we've got one truck 24 years old, another truck 20 years of age that both need major repairs. I wouldn't put another Band-Aid on any of those before I'd replace them. I mean, they're trying to be replaced. I think we'd be throwing good money after bad if we spend any amount of repair work on these, any money towards repair work on these trucks. They've done their thing, it's time to be replaced. They should have been replaced before.
And I think if it wasn't for the policies we've had over the past few years, probably one, at least one would have been.
Thank you, Worship. So KPMG's report, core service report keeps coming up, even though it's in a draft version, so I'm gonna bring it forward as well then, in regards to lease options instead of buying. You know, that was one of their comments. I mean, I'd like to see when the report's back, they talk about lease. Are we looking at that? On some of our vehicles, not all of our vehicles, but some of them. Like everything here is about buying, I'm just going at that option.
We're going with our purchasing policy, I would think. Mr. Wong?
One of the things noted in the KPMG report when Mr. Poloni said that was that he had discussions on the leasing and purchasing options with Mr. Beal. He felt Mr. Beal had the situation well in hand and also iterated to council that the decisions to lease, whether or not the district should be leasing or purchasing equipment is really an operational decision, not a council level decision.
Call the question, all in favor? Oh, just a minute, what are we haven't had an amendment, so we're talking about the original motion. That's to replace both trucks. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, the solid waste collection truck.
Your worship, that motion has already been passed and approved.
Okay, thank you. The crane truck, replace the crane truck. Motion. Scott, seconder. Coca. Discussion.
What year's the truck, what year's the crane, and what's the tonnage and?
Well,
Mr.
do
Beal?
we have that information yet? just, doesn't, I don't think it really matters, because, we're just asked to, whether we want to replace it. That's all?
Tonnage and boom length make a difference because this is obviously what I do for a living, but, the problem is, if you get over a certain tonnage and boom length, you've got to certify your operators, which is a lengthy process for, us to go through. And something we probably don't want to tread into, so just making sure that we're under that, and a truck that has 200,000 kilometers on it isn't really a replacement truck for the usage that we get for that thing in my mind. But, if we don't have that information, I would suggest that we don't vote on that at this time.
I know you're right, because I do a bit of that here. For certain. And we got to do a lot of training. I'm sure Mr. David's aware of that. Okay, anything else? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, the 6 light vehicles. Motion to replace those. Councillor Ruby. Seconder. Councillor Mackay. Discussion. Yes, Councillor.
Are all these trucks for public works?
I think they are, yes.
And how many do we?
For just a second. Mr. Wally.
No, this also includes the replacement of the bylaw vehicle.
So bylaw and will that be a pickup as well?
Van right now.
I would imagine we'll probably stay with the van, I'm not sure. An SUV.
And how many trucks do we actually have in the light vehicle flight at public, or excuse me, the light vehicle fleet at public works present time?
Mr. Beal?
Thank you, Mr. Wall, your worship council. When we talk about fleet, and the fleet covers all of the district, not just public works. So we have fleet in, community center, we have fleet town hall, and we have fleet, obviously in bylaw and fire department. Total pickups, I don't have the number, I can get to the number right now. You guys bear with me for. So currently, we're close to 20 light vehicle pickups.
I'd like to see a more detailed list of which vehicles we're replacing. If we're looking at SUVs or for public works or what we're going after here. What I understand, a bylaw is not on call 24/7, is that correct? Are they on call 24/7? So, in my mind, like if you're using a vehicle that could be utilized by somebody again over at Public Works, once they're done with their vehicle at the end of the day, if they needed to pick up to haul something down wherever, to me, it makes more sense to have a dual use vehicle. I'd like to see a breakdown of the 6 vehicles that we're replacing and what we're looking for.
Any other discussion? Okay.
And is this an area here where we could do it, just kind of stagger them? Do we need 6 all at a time, or could we do 3 one year, 3 the next, or something like that?
They don't list them here. I know myself, I've seen some pretty ready district trucks.
It might not be an option, I realize that, yeah.
Okay. More discussion? All in favor of this? Opposed?
Make a recommendation, we get a report on the 6 vehicles that want to replace.
The seconder for that? All in favor? Steam trailer. Recommendation on replacing that. Shaw. Councillor Kirby. Discussion. Councillor Hall.
Can we find out what's wrong with this? Is it actually the pressure unit inside of it, or is there something wrong with the trailer itself?
I think staff has decided they wanna replace it because of the $15,000, but that's the decision we gotta make is whether we wanna spend $15,000 to replace it, to repair it, or $44,000 to replace it.
But if it's just to replace the unit inside of it for $15,000 and the trailer's structurally fine, to me, it's worth spending $15,000. That's why I asked the question.
That is, staff has got into consideration. Anybody else? All in favor? Did you have something to say?
It's two, that's fine.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Yes, CBA fleet replacement. You get it, Councilor Trocca, seconder, Councilor Kirby. Discussion. Councilor Hall.
Is this required at this time?
I would think it would be, but,
We don't, we'll never have to do this. We don't have to provide any of the equipment to the fire hall if we don't want to.
No, but we have SCBA's at the fire hall right now. Are we gonna upgrade to something that's much more costly because we have to do it, or because it's a nice thing to do? Does this have to be done through work safe BC standards? They do have bottles there right now, correct me if I'm wrong. 25-minute bottles, is this gonna make them 30-minute? Before we spend $180,000, I'd like a little more information on it.
The difference in the air tanks and how long they last were contained in the report that was brought to council on the asset management committee, which was recommended meeting. I don't have off the top of my head the length. This is something that's being brought in by, is it CRA, Mr. Curry?
This, excuse me, Mayor and Council, this is through the NFPA, this is best practice, this is not required through the WCP at this point. It is being looked at by WCP to be the adopted standard.
So this is not necessary, we don't have to do this.
and in a year that we just replaced the large piece of equipment over there, might be something to keep in consideration. Yes.
Thank you, Worship. I fully support it. I think, it's not that other people aren't important. You got a fire department going in and burning buildings, something area gets trapped, an extra few minutes in there means life. One of those firefighters really got trapped. And to have those few extra minutes, to me, it's a no-brainer. I fully support it, fully support the staff, so. Just wanna make sure that's comments made.
And I support any way we can keep our emergency services a little safer. Shit. Anybody else? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, residential solid waste carts. Did we approve that?
Yeah.
Okay. The backhoe replacement. Recommendation. Mr. Trocca, seconder. Kirby, discussion?
What attachments come with it for $275?
Mr. Wall?
Mr. Beal?
Thank you, Mr. Wall, your worship and council. That comes with a front clam bucket, two different style rear hole buckets, and an extended hole. So the extended hole will actually allow us to actually do excavation.
me.
Because to a certain
I would think this is an important piece of equipment when you're doing some of the work on the roads right now. Okay, Councilor Kirby, you had something?
Yes, Mayor McPherson, would the old backhoe be traded in on this? Is that included in that price, or will we be keeping that or selling that?
I think they are, fleet sales,
Asset disposal policy.
Okay.
Asset disposal policy.
yeah, it's not part of this price here though. Councilor Keith?
Thank you, Worship. Just a question. is our intent to go through all of the schedules that we've
No,
got?
just this one here. We've already done the other ones.
Only this one?
Yeah.
Because it strikes me, and we've talked about this in previous years, but it strikes me line by line by line. And certainly the professionals that we have had in here advising this council relative to that is not the right procedure to go through. And that, my only concern here is that we're getting into the administration side of the business. Are we not?
Yes, we are.
I mean, why are we, if that is the case, then why are we doing this? You know, in terms of, again, I get back to the administration side of it, I get back to the fact that they presented their budgets here, they've done their homework, so on and so forth, and in terms of going on the basis that what they have presented here to us is a legitimate, well thought out, well presented, and this is what it's gonna cost to be able to do this. I don't care how many trucks it takes, or 5, or should it be this, or should it be that, or whatever. I am interested in taking those figures, putting it into the overall budget, and seeing whether or not we can indeed afford to be able to give them what they believe they need to be able to do their jobs effectively. If it comes out to the end of that, when we go through that exercise, that we don't have the funds to do it, then that's fair ball, we're gonna have to cut back, take it back to Mr. Wall and company and say, sorry, we can't do that, you gotta cut it by 20% or whatever, we can't afford it. We don't get into, to do otherwise, it strikes me we get into the administration side, and Jesus, that's not our role. That, you know, that is not our role, and to me, it demeans the administration side of the business as well. And I don't understand why we wait, you know, why we spend so much, waste our time doing that. I mean, if at the end of that day, they're the professionals, we're not. And any time that we wanna give suggestions or whatever, then go talk to them. But in the meantime, put the package together, tell us what it's gonna cost. Let's take a look at what it's gonna mean by way of the tax base, whether we can afford it or not, and then we can get on with the rest of our lives, rather than having to go through it line by line by line. Just doesn't make sense to me.
And I agree with you, and the majority of council wanted to discuss some of these issues on this one.
I understand,
So,
I understand.
Councilor Howard.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. It didn't pass the first time because there was too many questions in there, and I'm sorry that we wanna go through it line by line, but this is $7.6 million. I'm not willing to let the $7.6 million go in 15 minutes of not talking about it. To me, you're not doing your job on the political side of it, you know? Like, this is the administration side to come up with the numbers. It's our job on the political side to add the human component to it, to look at it for the taxpayers. And to me, I'm doing my job by taking it line by line and looking at things that are important, you know? I don't know why we gotta rush this thing. I mean, there's a note in here, this is why we don't rush things. So to me, take your time, walk through it. If you don't have the time to be in here to go through this line by line, let us know. I thought that's why we came in at 9 a.m. in the morning instead of 5 o'clock at night. To me, I wanna take my time with it, to feel comfortable about it. So somebody comes up to me on the road and says, geez, did you know they replaced this vehicle and that vehicle? No, I had no idea. To me, you're not doing your job if you're not carefully looking at each and every individual thing. And I think we're doing the right thing. We got 2 more to go, we're done, so.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, tobacco. Any more discussion on it? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, the last one, 2 front end loaders. Can I get a motion on that? Moved. Guy? Mr. Scott? Okay, discussion. Sorry.
No, not any really questions. I'm just more supporting the idea, concept of supporting half of what they need. If it's half to buy one, then one should be purchased this year, one should be purchased next year. We'll be making a note. I want a minute. You won't be going to favor replacing.
That's good.
I'd like to amend the motion to replace 1 front end loader.
Any other discussion on it? All in favor of the amendment? Okay. Any more discussion on the original motion? And the original motion is to replace 2 with the amendment of 1. So we're back to 1, right? Okay. All in favor of the motion?
I think that's just,
Is there a law that takes care of the other one?
That,
I was just, Mayor McPherson, I was just asking if the other, because we're only replacing the one, they would automatically, repair the one remaining, right?
I'm sure they will.
Okay.
That takes us to adjournment. Mr. Scott, all in favor? Thank you very much.